Your home would be a lot more peaceful. You would get to be in your soft mom era, and your kids would know not to play with you if you could just calm down. You probably think it's your kids not doing what you tell them to do that makes you want to lose your temper. But it's actually the way you think about what they do that makes you want to go crazy. By the end of this video, you're going to have 6 steps to get off this hamster wheel. If you don't, your kids will probably want to cut you off as soon as they can get away from you, and you're going to be left in shock and disbelief, and they're going to say it's because of being constantly disrespected, being yelled at, or just not liking the environment that they were in. They didn't like the vibe around you. But I'm here to help you with that, and I'm going to give you the tools for free. Today, we're breaking free from what I call the reactivity cycle. If you stay in it for too long, it's going to break down the relationship between you and your kids, and you're just going to keep drifting apart, or the stage that I call the drift phase. And the more you drift apart, the harder it is to want to be around each other. And as parents, it's ultimately the goal to raise kids who do want to come back at some point just to at least visit, let us see the grandkids, say, hey, check on us, not put us in a home, whatever. But if your temper keeps getting in the way, best case scenario, your kids will be pleasant while they are around you. And then as soon as they can get away, they'll be talking about you and calling you everything but a child of God behind your back. I'm Tanisha, mom, author, life coach, and educator. When I found myself in the drift phase with my own son, I worked on my temper, my stress level, and my communication. And by doing that, I was able to take our relationship from being what he called the low light of his life to now how he describes it as consoling when the rest of the world feels so crazy. I'm going to make sure you know exactly what the reactivity cycle is and be able to identify where you are in the cycle so you can stop the loop no matter where you are in the cycle. Let me paint you a clear picture first and make sure you really understand it. Your kid doesn't do their homework. You've told them a million times that they need to get their work done and they need to do it on time because you are getting tired of having to chase behind them and email teachers about the work that they didn't do. They give you that blank stare. You know the one that's like the lights are on, but nobody's home. It's going in one ear and out the other. So now you really go hard because it's like they don't even care. And why don't they care? So now you get loud, you lecture, and they go off to their room. For the next few days, you won't have to say a word about homework. It's going to be like a perfect little angel appeared and all of the work is magically done. And you probably try to be patient when they miss that next assignment and calmly just say to them, we've talked about this. I need you to get this done. But it's when they do that huffing and puffing, that one little sigh that sends you right back into who do you think you're talking to? Why are you acting like you don't have to get this work done when I just told you all these things the other day? And the cycle starts again, the reactivity cycle. But here's the thing. The real problem isn't the stuff that your kids did. It's the thoughts that we connect to what they do. We assign the motivations to the things they did. The fact that they gave that blank stare that says, I'm not really paying attention, or at least we think that, is truly because we think that. They could very well be listening and absorbing every single word. But we've decided because of the way they look, they can't possibly be listening. But I bet if you ask them what you just said, they could repeat it back word for word. When they sigh, we take that as you don't respect me. But really, if there's something that I'm being told to do and I don't feel like doing it, I kind of huff and puff and sigh too. And the fact that the work's not being done in the first place is all because we've learned that school success can equal options in life, and we don't want them to be limiting their options. So you see, it's not just the behavior that is triggering us, it's the thoughts that we connect to the behavior. So now we're going to get into the 6 steps that are going to help you get out of this loop. The first thing you're going to have to do is decide that you want to get out of the loop. If you want to be the mom who doesn't care and just pops off whenever the mood strikes and whenever the behavior is just right, by all means, go ahead. But if you are a mom who feels guilty after you've gone off because that's not who you want to be, this is the step for you. So the first step is deciding what your vision is for yourself as a mom. Who are you? How do you react to things? How do you handle situations when your kids are not doing what you want them to do? Who are you? You probably never even gave it any real thought. I know in the beginning I didn't, and I spent my entire life just reacting to the things that were happening to me and dealing with the aftermath later. But when you do that, you're being led by your mood and your emotions, and it's exhausting. I literally felt like Jekyll one day and Hyde the next. Once I sat down and wrote out my vision for myself, then I had a standard for myself to live by and hold myself accountable to. But I also had a measuring stick to judge my success against instead of looking at other moms trying to judge how I'm doing. But having a vision is only going to get you so far. I was still frustrated because I worked so hard to make sure that my son had everything he needed to be successful. So then when he wasn't, it felt like a personal failure. But then I took the next step and went back to my old textbooks and looked at the information about child development and adolescent psychology. That's when I was really reminded of all of the ways that my son is actually just doing the things that he developmentally is expected to be doing at this stage. And I was taking stuff personally that was biological. And it also reminded me that, especially during the teenage years, he is establishing his own identity and his values for himself outside of me. And what he values isn't always going to match what I value. And when you add to the fact that his brain is still in development until he's at least 25, that just clears up a whole lot of the things that he was doing. I thought he was crazy because he kind of was. He's just in a different developmental stage. And when I think about who I was up to the age of 25, yeah, I was on one too. That didn't change the fact that he had expectations and that he still needed to get his work done, but it did put things into a different perspective so that I could stop taking it personally and getting so upset when things weren't done. And I still felt disrespected by what I considered his nonchalance, the huffing and puffing, and the fact that I had to repeat myself in the first place. So that's the next thing that I had to deal with. I had to ask myself, was he really nonchalant or was I just interpreting his facial expression that way? And based on the fact that I sigh and huff and puff when I don't want to do something, was his sigh really him being disrespectful? Or was that him just being a normal human expressing a normal human emotion? You have to question your triggers, and that's the third step. When you know what your triggers are, you get to decide if they remain triggers. And if you decide to let some of those things go or deal with them differently, then you don't have to be as reactive when they come up. And every step in this video I am giving you is at a level that's high enough where you can do all of what I'm saying on your own. But if you feel like you need support with it, I've created a temper training course where it's about 6 classes that walk you through each of these 6 steps. Plus, there's a bonus where I talk about what damage-free discipline is and how you can apply that in your home. And you can log in, do those courses at any time on your schedule. You can make sure that you have gone through all of the modules as many times as you need to, and you'll come out of each one of them with a solid plan for yourself and how you're going to operate differently with your family. And by the end of it, that whole temper thing is going to be a whole lot easier for you to manage. My son just told me today that my temper used to be really bad and now it's like I don't really have one. So what could it hurt? The link is in the description. So far, we've covered 3 steps that are all connected to your mindset, the way you think about the things that your kids are doing that are influencing the way you react. But these last 3 steps are going to go from what we think to what we do. We're going to change some behavior patterns. The 4th step was replacing my big reactions with something that I could actually maintain for the long term. And for me, that was the way I communicate. I started studying nonviolent communication, listening, and any other communication techniques I could get my hands on. If I was going to do the same thing that I tell the kids at school to do, use my words, I wanted to learn how to do it really well. The most eye-opening thing that I learned was all of the ways that we speak a language of disconnection from the time we are born. If our parents have a dismissive tone, we copy that. We learn early on that the loudest, most aggressive one wins. We learn to hide what we really feel under the guise of being nice. And criticism becomes the motivational speech that we are so used to hearing. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. Developing my communication skills had a ripple effect. My son became a better communicator. I started having better relationships with my coworkers, and it came in clutch when it came to my romantic life because it saved us from a breakup at least twice. Well, I won't even say at least, twice, because it's only ever happened twice that things were a little. So there's only an upside to improving the way you communicate. The next time I felt frustrated about John not doing his homework, I had a different set of tools to be able to handle the situation. Because of the mindset work I had done, repeating myself was no longer a trigger, and I had a plan of action beyond just talking. Because when I thought about what my triggers were, I also thought about how I would respond in those situations that normally would trigger me. Which leads me to the fifth step, having a plan of action. Part of the aggravation that I would experience was because, if we're really honest, I was very inconsistent with my enforcement of the things that I said. I would start off checking his homework every day, and then I would leave it to make sure that he got it done. I would start off making sure that he was writing things down, and I was checking his agenda every day. And then I started letting that slide. And then when things would fall through the cracks, I would pick it back up. And so this monitor, not monitor, monitor, not monitor, it just set up probably a really aggravating situation for him too, because I had never consistently required that he just write down what he's supposed to be doing and we go through it every day. It would have taken 2 minutes, would have eliminated a lot of issues, but because I was back and forth with how I paid attention to that, he was back and forth with how much he would do it. I couldn't fault him for that. I had to adjust my expectations of him and myself and how much I was willing to manage what he was doing. The plan that I came up with that would allow me to manage the situation without me having all these elevated emotions was to let him learn the hard way. Mostly because I know how I was at his age, and I was that kid that had to learn things the hard way. I decided to stop micromanaging him. I decided that I was going to let him experience the consequences of his own choices. Instead of trying to save him from the pain of summer school and the stress of graduation hanging in the balance, I was going to just let him have it his way. It's not like me doing the lecturing thing was making a big difference anyway, but that pain and that stress that he brought on himself did the trick, and he graduated on time. And I know what you're probably thinking with that one. Ain't no way I'm gonna let my kid fail. And that's okay. Your plan doesn't have to look like mine. Your plan just has to be one that you're gonna be able to follow through on. Adjust and plan accordingly. Was it easy for me to watch him get grades that are lower than I thought he could bring home or that I had seen him bring home and know that he was working under his potential? No, it was not easy at all. But that's where this sixth and final step came in. I had to get really comfortable with being uncomfortable. Everything can't be my way. When he leaves here and goes out into the real world, he's going to live life however he sees fit. And I don't get a say. And so if you really want to learn to be less reactive, you have to get comfortable with not having control over everything. And when you have that self-regulation, that's when you master that reactivity monster and you can just calm down. And when you can do that, you're a whole lot less likely to move into the drift phase that we had to fight our way back from. But if you feel like you are headed towards the drift phase, or maybe you're already there, I also have a program called The Connected Communicator, where I talk about how to come back from that drift phase and exactly what communication missteps got you there so you can avoid them, and then what to do to fix it. So now that we've reached the end of the video, let's recap. These were the 6 steps to help you break the reactivity cycle. Create your vision for how and who you want to be. Get some basic knowledge of what's normal child development. Understand your triggers. Develop your communication skills. Make contingency plans for the things that you know trigger you. And get comfortable being uncomfortable. If you found this video helpful, like and subscribe. And if you really think it'll benefit somebody that you know, send it to them. And just because I'm curious, I want to know, what do your kids do that really gets your blood boiling? Drop it in the comments and I'll see you in the next one.